Don't wait till the battle's over. Don't wait till the struggle ends. Shout now, shout now, right now. Shout now, shout now. Don't wait till you make it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Phillip Show. Listen, grab your coffee. I want to say a quick shout out. Look at this mug. I don't know if anybody can see it, but check this mug out. Hold on. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to Omnibus. It's a brand new business here with Jessica McGee. It's a brand new business here in Yellow Springs. I stopped by and got a brand new mug. So, you know, I always love anything mugs, anything coffee. I'm always there for it. So Omnibus is here, and I'm excited about everything that they have. So the weather is breaking. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. People are going on vacation. People are starting to gather a lot more. We've come sort of out of COVID, and now people are going on trips. People are staying in Airbnbs are the big things, and people are staying in bed and breakfasts. But what is the difference? And, you know, what does that all mean? We're super excited today to be talking to Jim Johnson, who is the owner of 310 Bed and Breakfast in Yellow Springs, but also the journey of how do you go from where you were to now being in the industry that is so busy with everybody moving and shaking and Airbnb and bed and breakfast. So help me welcome Jim Johnson. Jim, hey.
Hey, Phillip. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you too. How's it going over there in your Garden of Eden that I see all around you?
The birds are singing and the sun is shining. It's a lovely, lovely morning. I couldn't ask for a better day.
Wow. Well, yeah, it's beautiful outside.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're talking about, I know you have your bed and breakfast, which is wonderful. Mm-hmm. We're going to get to all of that too. But, you know, the show is about people's stories and people's journeys and how they got to where they are. You know, so just briefly, I know your story's not brief, but
it's long and windy. Yes.
Long and windy. So you're in Yellow Springs now, and now you have a bed and breakfast. Where are you originally from?
I grew up here in Yellow Springs, and I grew up in the house that is now my home and business. How I got here was my parents were still living in the house that I grew up in, and they were getting older and needed help staying in the house. So one of the reasons I moved back to Yellow Springs, I had a career in higher education. Antioch had just reopened, so I wanted to help Antioch, secure the funding that they needed. I was a fundraiser. So I moved back to Yellow Springs in 2012 to work for Antioch and to be close to my parents. And that is hard to believe. That was 10 years ago.
Wow.
It was March of 2013 that I moved back. I'm sorry, March of 2012. So it's been over 10 years. But it's been over 10 years that I've been back in Yellow Springs, and I am so thrilled with my life and being able to make that choice to move back.
Yeah. I'm so excited that you are. Listen, if you all don't know, Jim is a busy man. He has his own business. He has a whole bunch going on. He's getting calls and everything. So
that was a customer probably. Yeah.
See,
I'll call him back.
Yeah. Yep. Trying to stay in Yellow Springs too. I'm so excited that number one, that you're excited that you moved home, and it's so cool that is the same. That's the same house, and now you're doing so many great things with it. A lot of people know Yellow Springs to be very eclectic and very inclusive and have a lot of diversity. When it comes to you and your journey, you said you moved away. How has, I guess, being from Yellow Springs, how has that shaped how you kind of see things outside of here?
My journey away from Yellow Springs was really to explore the world and explore myself. I was when I left Yellow Springs, I was a conservative Republican who was very closeted, and I even in 1978 when I graduated from high school, Yellow Springs was very accepting of the lesbian population, particularly that. And so I knew the town was accepting, but I wasn't there yet to come out. My journey took me to big cities where that at first was Cleveland, and that's where I came out as a gay man. And big cities, were a comfortable place to be. And I stuck with that. I'm from Cleveland. I moved to New York City, and I was blessed with a career that allowed me to move when I wanted to. And I 10 years in Cleveland, 10 years on the East Coast, New York and Washington, D.C., and then 10 years on the West Coast, living in Vancouver, British Columbia, and then Bellingham, Washington. But the move back to Yellow Springs was not, I didn't expect to move back, but the opportunity was there, an exciting opportunity with Antioch. And, being close to my parents was important. So, but Yellow Springs was, was hard to move back to. The population had changed a lot. My calculation is maybe a third of the population was here when I was, growing up.
Right.
It had turned over, enough that there weren't that many people that I knew well. Friends, over a couple. I had to really reestablish myself as an individual, finding my tribe here.
Yeah.
But I have, and that's why it's a great place for me to be. I have my family. My parents have passed, but I have a family here. And Yellow Springs is probably the only place I'd feel comfortable living in Ohio, to be quite honest.
You were talking about, you initially you were Republican, and then you moved away, and then all of a sudden, life happened. There's so many stereotypes that it sounds like you're breaking, if you will, because so many people don't associate Republican with the LGBTQ plus community. So it seems like a lot of things have changed over the years, and it seems like you kind of navigated through all of these changes, specifically within the LGBTQ plus community. From your perspective, even being in government and being around all of that, what are some of the things that you have noted? And it could even be relationally. What are some of the things that are different now than what was when you were kind of jetting out to explore the world?
Yeah. Well, the party, the Republican Party, was advocating things counter to, my life. That started in the 80s when I was coming out. We were dealing with AIDS, and the Reagan administration wasn't doing anything. And I started getting involved. There is a very good gay community in Cleveland that you can be a part of. And it was very soon after moving to Cleveland that my politics started changing, and it had to do with being gay and dealing with an epidemic, and having friends die. That I just become. It was the 80s was a real turning point for the gay community, I think, because the AIDS crisis galvanized us and made us a stronger community, even though we had to deal with a lot of death.
Yeah.
So, you know, politically, you know, I've watched and experienced the long arc of justice. You know, I think for the gay community, it was you know, it was a fairly rapid arc in comparison to other sort of social justice issues. But I think we're also experiencing a boomerang effect right now, where it's you know, it's our progress is being, you know, being challenged right now.
Sure. Sure. And when
Yeah.
you were like looking at all of these things, how was it when it came to has your view changed since like being in a relationship? Did you explore that opportunity in your life, and how's that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah. So I came out in '84. I you know, found my community in Cleveland, and was, you know, had a rich life. And I met my first boyfriend in '87. I just graduated from law school, and he moved up to live with me in Cleveland. And yeah, I met him in Dayton. He was a Dayton boy. I was back for Thanksgiving, and met Ken, and we started dating. And by April, he'd moved up to Cleveland. So it was. You know, I was young and feeling like my life was, you know, really complete. But I did, that relationship didn't last. It was 5 years. It was a good relationship, but it just, you know, we're still very good friends.
Mhm.
You know, so living in Cleveland, you know, a good community, but you still had to be on guard. You had to filter yourself in Cleveland, depending on the neighborhood or the restaurant or the where you were. And I was spending time in New York for work, and I was noticing when I was there how anywhere you were in New York, you could be yourself. So I wanted to experience what it was like to, you know, live like everybody else and not have to filter yourself.
Yeah.
So New York gave me that experience of being full-time, comfortable at work, social, any place I was. I felt like I could hold hands with my significant other, and talk about whatever I wanted to talk about, whatever the issue was, in public, you know, at a restaurant, or out walking around. So it, you know, that broke through all that sort of internalized homophobia that you have. You know, I was able to kind of work through that, and it's been interesting lately. I feel like that filter has come back because of our politics.
I was just thinking that because what you're saying, what year, when you're talking about you felt comfortable, say in New York,
Yeah.
around what year?
Yeah.
Year
That was in '95.
So
I
it's
moved to New York
interesting.
in '95. Yeah.
It's interesting to hear
Yeah.
the freedom that you're speaking of
Yeah.
in '95, and here
Yeah.
we are in 2023.
Yeah.
Seems a little bit
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, if I leave Yellow Springs, I feel very comfortable in Yellow Springs. I can be my 100% self. If I go to Fairborn, 6 miles away, that filter comes back.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's just the reality that I think people are going through right now. That, you
Yeah.
know, the craziness of half of the country living in a different world, you know, the Fox News world. It's, you know, it's you're uncertain. And when you have that uncertainty and there's the threat of violence again. I really feel like, you know, the violence that we had to deal with the bashing that we were always concerned about, I was anyway, in the 80s and 90s, you were aware what neighborhood you were in, depending on what time of day it was, or what the current news was. So that, you knew where the gay bashings were. It was talked about. It made the news, and that we stopped hearing about gay bashing for a while, but we're starting to hear about it again.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that because of access to communication, whether it be truthful communication, misinformation, or just sensationalized, do you think that it is just a sense of heightened awareness and a sense of fear and a sense of urgency? Or do you really feel that, like you were talking about gay bashing, do you really feel like that's actually something that's happening?
So I think we have a party that is using it to speak to their base.
Okay.
And so the rhetoric is dangerous.
Sure.
But they don't care.
Got it.
They'll use it because the Republican Party uses polling to drive their rhetoric, and they know this works for them. They are good at winning. The Democrats are not that good at winning. I mean,
got it.
The Republicans could care less about policy. They're about power.
So I know that you said that you feel very comfortable, say, in Yellow Springs, and I want to transition to your ideas about Airbnbs and bed and breakfast and just experience in general. You're comfortable in Yellow Springs. Your bed and breakfast is so unique to me because in a time where everybody has these Airbnbs and they're just very temporary, you go in and go out, there's really nothing personalized. What sets 310 bed and breakfast apart from some of these other places?
Yeah. That was very important to me to have a distinction. My website stands alone. I'm not associated with Airbnb. I respect the business owners that go that route. I think it's a good service. It's proven itself as a reliable source for people to look to. But it's more of a turnkey operation. You come and go, and you don't interact with the proprietor.
And you're talking about Airbnbs, correct?
Yeah, Airbnb. And I wanted to have the experience. I wanted my guests to have the experience that I enjoyed when I went to bed. When I would travel, I would look for bed and breakfasts that would become my home for that city. And the proprietors always felt like guides to the city and people that I would come home to. They made my breakfast. They greeted me when I came back from my appointments for work. They were there, and their home felt like my home because they were living there too. And I really liked that experience myself, and I fantasized about doing something like this because of that experience that I was having. And when this when the house some of the remodeling that we did for my parents to make the house livable for them aging really made it work out that I could divide the house and set up a bed and breakfast like I experienced when I traveled a lot for work.
Yeah, it seems so unique and so cozy. I think one of the things that you're getting to is with a bed and breakfast, it seems like there's a relationship. It's more of a relationship.
So my permit with the village is a different a different code than Airbnb.
Hmm.
Airbnb is transient guest lodging. The owner does not have to be there. With the B&B code, it's owner occupied. I have to be here if I have guests.
Yeah.
So I have to, make sure, they're safe and comfortable. Um, I provide the morning breakfast. So I interact with them at some point. I do have uh, a a PIN code lock system for the front door, so they can check in. They can self check in. But at some point, we're going to cross paths because there's a door that divides the business, the bed and breakfast side of the house, provides my access. There's just a door between us. The house divides up nicely enough that the residence is, I don't hear them in my residence, and they don't hear me.
Yes.
So we are sharing this house.
I love it because it's so quaint. And I love the fact that you're there to improve their experience, to make those
Yeah.
connections. You're very close to downtown. And one of the
Yeah.
things that I really do like about you is that you're making connections with other establishments within Yellow Springs to really increase the opportunities for your guests, to give them
Yeah.
options when they come, so they just don't have to
Yeah.
come and just kind of figure it out themselves. So you really are kind of that guide that gives
Yeah.
them kind of like things to do, like, hey, you can get breakfast
Yeah.
over here if you like some
Yeah.
wine over here, the movies
Yeah.
are over here. Is
Yeah.
that are you doing that intentionally? Is that
Yes,
something that
very much so. I want my guests to be able to start planning their trip when they're at my website booking the trip.
Mhm.
I want to have links um, and information about the local the local scene, so that they can start thinking about what they're going to do and how I can help them make those connections while they're first on my website booking the room. Um, when we on the day of the reservation, I'm texting them right away. They already have I've already sent them an email giving them information about their stay, but that morning I remind them of their PIN code number first for the front door, and that the code will be active at when check-in time is 3, and then I communicate with them about where to park and the room that they have, which where it is, and
Mm.
about the key and whether or not they're going to share the B&B with another guest. And then I always end by saying, I live in the back of the house. I am here to assist you with your stay. And it's a good way to establish that direct communication that day that they're coming. And I think the guests appreciate that contact, and we start emailing or start texting.
Yeah.
And I think it helps. It helps make them feel welcome, and that things are going to go, as expected.
Yeah, it sounds like a home away from home. You do
That's a line that's one of the first sentences in my website.
oh,
Your home away from home.
well, see, there it is. And I just
Yeah.
got that listening, One of the
Yeah.
things that I love about you continue to give, and you continue to provide resources, and you continue to extend yourself. You're also a part of the YSKP fundraiser that's coming up pretty soon. Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about that and how you're involved.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to promote the event. It's coming up on Saturday, this Saturday, May 13th. The YSKP was a long-running theater for kids experience, a summer experience that was wonderful. And for 27 years, it ran, and kids had a wonderful experience. Some of the kids ended up having fabulous careers in theater. But we had to shutter it, but we wanted to create a legacy that of the experience that kids were having. And so the money that was in the bank as we were closing down the YSKP went to the community foundation to seed a scholarship. It's called the YSKP Legacy Scholarship. So a graduate of Yellow Springs High School can apply for this scholarship if they're going on to further their their training in theater. We had an event. It's a wrap party last October, and it raised another $5,000. So the scholarship right now has $10,000 in the account that is managed by the Yellow Springs Community Foundation. It's a spend down account. So the scholarship the first scholarship is going to be given out this on Saturday to the first recipient. Our goal for the fundraiser on Saturday is to raise enough money to permanently endow the scholarship. Mm-hmm. You have to get to $25,000 for the fund to be able to pay for the scholarship. And that's what so the community foundation is managing the money, and there'll be income that comes in from the investments, and that will cover the scholarship if we hit 25,000. And I wanted to have this party for my 1 year anniversary in business, but I wanted it to connect to the community and do something important, and important to me, and I think important to the village, important to students in the future. I think we can make a dent in that gap between 10 and 25 with the silent auction that'll be a part of the event on May 13th.
Wonderful. So you've partnered with a lot of people that are interested in giving as well, and you developed a silent auction, and people can bid on those things and help to raise money for.
So, for Yellow Springs has some world-class artists that live here and work here, and they have made donations of their work. You can go to my website and a link to the event and see the artists who have donated. It's painters and sculptors and performers who will come to your performers will come and give you a sort of a master class in performance, dance, theater, and Jailhouse Suites is a lovely Airbnb just around the corner from me. They've donated a night's lodging as an auction item. I've donated a night lodging here at my 310 bed and breakfast, and restaurants have given gift certificates for meals. We can pair them with we're pairing them with the night's lodging. We have it's a really interesting mix of, I think we're up to 21 items that are for auction, and you can go to that. There's a virtual auction that's live now. Your viewers can start bidding just by going to the virtual auction site.
Well, sounds like, go ahead.
Yeah, but we'll culminate the auction the day of the event, and see what we raise, and hopefully we're close to that 25,000 mark.
Well, I'm very excited about that, and it just seems to be very consistent with your interest in service and in helping and really building people's experiences, as well as just connecting people to different resources and different opportunities.
Yeah.
Jim,
well, that's what businesses should do. My mom and dad were merchants downtown. My dad was the pharmacist, ran the corner drugstore for 30 years. He believed in participating in the community. It was good for business. It was good for the family. This community really supports the residents of the village in so many ways. I want to make sure it's a very easy website. It's 310bedandbreakfast.com, all spelled out, one word.
310bedandbreakfast.com, all spelled out, one word.
Very good. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, got
Check it out.
So everybody heard that. Go to 310bedandbreakfast.com. See what Jim is actually describing. See what he is talking about when he talks about having a place that you can come where somebody cares. There's going to be things that you can do, offers, and everything. Your entire stay can be cared for. In addition, if you take nothing else away, be of service. Find yourself in a position where you continue to connect people, you continue to relate to people, and everybody has the opportunity to impact somebody's life in some way, and we decide how we're going to do that. And I'm so thankful to Jim for showing us a really great example of how to do that in a very meaningful way. So thank you so much for being here. And as usual, you are the best you in the world. I'll see you next time here on The Phillip Show.
Don't wait.